It normally just goes really slightly wavy and then really frizzy and bushy. So I just got
that's like me.
Whatever I put in.
Yeah.
So welcome to Soul Talk podcast. Oh, let me start again. What's it called? It's a podcast and take two. And it begins. Welcome to Soul Talk podcast. Today I'm with Sophie. I would say Royston because I've never actually ever called you your full name. Like I actually had to go on Facebook, put in your name to find what your surname was.
What is your name?
Because I remember, was it Marie at one point or not?
I think it just had my full name.
It had, is that your middle name? Yeah. So then I was like, I'm not sure. So we're going to be talking about a few different things today. But first of all, I just wanted to ask a little bit about you. Like, could you just give us like a little bio?
Yeah. So I am Sophie Royston. I am 29, almost 30. And that's coming fast like a train. But I'm happy about it. Goodbye to my 20s. I spend a lot of time outdoors.
Yes.
I feel like it's pretty much become my personality at this point.
Yeah.
Hiking, wild swimming, camping, paddleboarding, now climbing, literally climbing the walls. I think that's become a big part of who I am now.
Yeah.
Which is a massive switch from where I was a few years ago, but I'm happy about it. I have 4 pets.
Yeah, tell us about your pets.
So I've got Luna, Albus, Bellatrix, and David Hasselhoff, the bunny, of course. We cannot leave Dave out. So yeah, crazy pet lady, love being outside. That's pretty much how I'd sum myself up.
I love that. So in particular today, like we wanted to bring you on to bring a bit more awareness to mental health, but also in the ways that you manage and deal with it, because you have particular things in place that you actively do to help address that. But we know there's days where it's a little bit harder than other days. So the first thing I just wanted to ask was where you felt like your mental health started to be affected, if it's something you feel like you've always had a little bit of, or if it started at a particular point.
Yeah, so I think, and actually I only came to this realisation at the beginning of this year. So I think I've actually always struggled in particular with anxiety and my moods up in and down all the time, like a bit of a roller coaster. And going back to being in school, I think it really started when I was probably in about year 9, year 10. I started, when I look back now, I've always put a lot of pressure on myself, no matter what situation I'm in, no matter what it is that I'm trying to achieve, what goals I've set. I will put so much pressure on myself that I will stress and I'll do everything it takes to get there. But I think the anxiety was quite big, especially around my exams and that sort of thing. If I look back now, I really struggled with the amount of pressure that they put on me at school. I did quite well. Like, it's not like I failed at it, but I will put pressure on myself to the point where it's detrimental. But I feel like that in turn has kind of turned full circle now. It's a bit of a positive because I thrive under pressure now. I like to be busy all the time. I love a target. I love a goal. I will work towards it. But I think it's probably because of the coping mechanisms that I've got in place now that kind of help me deal with it better. And that's why I actually thrive in that situation now. And then, so I was diagnosed in December with depression and anxiety for the first time. And that's because I finally did go to the doctors for some help, because I was probably at the lowest point I've ever been. I did not want to get out of bed. And I think I'd maybe been in bed for 3 days, just solid, crying. Couldn't get up, couldn't move, didn't want to do anything. Like, I'd completely lost any will to do anything, in a sense that I just wanted to be in my safe space. And for me, my room is my safe space. I love being in my little room. I've made it so cozy, it's mine. But then sometimes it can be really hard to drag yourself out of that when you're in a bad place. So I thought, now is the time, like, I need to move. I don't know what to do now, I'm stuck. Because before, like, I feel like I said, I've always dipped in and out of moods, and I know when I've been in quite a low place and I've got myself out of it. But at this point, I didn't know where to start. I feel like I'd gone a bit too far or further than I had before. So I didn't really know where to start. So I did go to the doctors and I did speak to them. And I think that was possibly one of the hardest things I've done. To just go to the doctors. And it sounds so simple, because people say go and get help. It's not as easy as just going to get help, and anyone that has been through it will completely understand, because to sit in front of someone and they say what's wrong, and you don't know.
Is it the sort of actually speaking out, actually, I'm not okay? Did you feel like you'd actually been able to say that to anyone before?
Yeah,
that actually you weren't in a great place, but this time you really didn't know how to get out of it?
Yeah, and luckily, like, I do have a great support network around me, which is the best thing I could ever ask for. You know, I've got some amazing friends who can see it.
Yeah.
When they know when I need space, they know when they need to be around me. Like, they're really good at reading me, and my family's super supportive as well. So I think for me, they've known when I've been in a bad place, because I do shut down. I don't want to speak. I need to be in my own space. Like, I'm snappy, like I'm not myself, because anyone who knows me knows that that is not me in general. I'd say in general I am quite a happy person. I'm
vibrant, bubbly. So for you to shut down and not have that, I would notice immediately and be like, okay, no, something's wrong here.
And I feel like as well, so the people closest to you are the ones that will get the backlash of anything, which is unfortunate, but it's because you feel safe with them. And they will know when I need time to like back off. But I feel like this time, to sit in front of essentially a complete stranger, it's my doctor, and them say, well, what's wrong? And I don't know is the honest answer. I don't know, but I don't know what I need to do. I'm not okay. It's just a very hard, and it was just like spiraling. And I'm not one to cry. I'm not really, in general, an emotional person. I'll avoid emotional films. Don't want to do it. I'd rather watch a comedy. I'd rather watch anything. But because I'm quite good at rationalising things with myself. But I think I've done it for quite a while where, I think there was a period of 2 years where I don't think I cried at all.
Wow.
Because I think I'd just shut off.
Sort of numbed yourself to
completely.
The feelings.
Yeah. And so I went through quite a difficult time just before lockdown. And I feel like that was a really low point. And that was after a breakup. It had been a difficult time for me. And that was also, now I look back, the pivotal point in things changing for me. So as much as it was not an easy time for me, and as much as it was awful, everything came crashing down just as we went into lockdown for me. Like, I was spiraling. I didn't know what to do. I was really, really low, and the whole world locked down. There was nothing to distract yourself with. You couldn't go out. We didn't even have the hours time to walk around then. So I essentially sat with my feelings for a long time. And then when we came out of lockdown, I made the decision that things were going to change. I was not willing to be that person anymore because I'd lost my voice completely. I didn't know who I was. I'd lost all sense of identity. I had no hobbies. I didn't do anything for myself. All I wanted to do was sit in bed, watch a film, eat. That was it.
And that's crazy knowing you now, because you're like the polar opposite.
Now I can't sit still.
This is probably the longest I'm ever going to see you sat down.
Probably. And I don't know. I feel like when I came out of lockdown, I thought things have got to change now. I need to do things for myself. I need to work out what is right for me. What do I like doing? Because I feel like I naturally will try to make other people around me feel safe, feel loved, feel secure. I will, whatever they want to do, I'll do.
People pleasing or going with the flow?
Massively people pleasing. And still to this day, the stereotype of asking a girl what she wants to eat and her saying, oh, I don't know anything, that is me. Because in that sense, I genuinely will eat everything. Like, there's something I will find.
Some things actually you go with the flow with.
Yeah, and I'm absolutely fine with that. But on a deeper level, it was me just people pleasing. And it was me and my insecurities manifesting themselves in the way I was behaving, the way I was, even like the energy and the relationships around me, they're completely different now because I'm not scared to say, no, I don't want to do that.
Oh, I love that.
Which sounds
it's such an important thing. I think we just lose remembering that along the way, and it does take for you to like read somewhere or for someone to say to you like, use your voice. Do you actually want to do that? Because you're so used to going along with things all the time that you never actually sit and think, oh, do I actually really want to do that? today, you know, and you're probably someone who does find sort of enjoyment in whatever you're going to choose to do, but it doesn't mean they're necessarily things you really want to do or are going to help you grow.
100%. And now, naturally, I will know there's some days where I'm not feeling sociable. Like, I don't want to be around people. I like my own company. And that's my safe space, though, and that's something I'm still working on now. I love being on my own, being independent. I am quite happy to spend time on my own. I have a lot of things that I can keep myself busy with. I enjoy my reading. I've really got into colouring at the minute.
How about you? I love that. Like Mandela patterns.
Well, at the minute, I've got these, like, I don't even know how to describe. They're like cozy colouring books.
Oh, cute.
So there's like little ghosts and stuff, and I fell down a rabbit hole on TikTok of these colouring books. And now I'm like obsessed with them. I'll have to send you a video because I love them.
Every time me and Sophie talk and she's found a new discovery, she's like, I'll have to send you a video, and then I overlook it and I'm like, oh my God, how have I never heard of that before?
I've ended up with some random sides of TikTok.
You know, while we're on this, then do you want to share, because Sophie has, like I was saying last year, like really built up like your platform, and she's really out there with the outdoor stuff, but there were some reels and stuff that you put out about self-dating, dating on your own. Like, tell us about that, like how you came to it, how you found it. And maybe how it's helped you be more comfortable now in your own skin and own space.
So the solo date, and I don't think I've ever actually spoke about this, the reason I actually did it, I've always wanted to do it, and this year, so as I'm turning 30, I decided I wanted to do something every month that I'd not done before. So that when I get to 30, I can look back and say, well, the last year, I've done at least 12 new things that I hadn't done before, and I can go into my 30s with that. But so I'm not really one to date. Dating scares me, bad vibes, terrified.
We need like a whole other podcast.
That's a new topic.
That is a podcast on its own.
Yeah, it's terrifying, but we're working on that. I thought I was going out on a date this one night, or I thought I was going to do something with someone, and they let me down last minute.
Oh, I didn't actually know that. Right, okay.
They let me down last minute, and I was really upset, because it takes a lot for me to say yes in that situation. And it seems so for some people, they can go on a date and not think about it, or go and meet with someone, and it doesn't feel like a big deal. For me, that is a big deal. Like, if I'm giving someone my time, my energy, if I'm getting myself ready.
That's it, and
I'd been left waiting. So I'd got myself all ready this one night, like I'd fully done the hair, the makeup, first time I'd made an effort in a long time, got myself ready, and the person just never came forward with the plans or anything. It just got completely left.
They're lost.
And I was ignored. That's by the by. But something sparked in me that night.
Yeah, of course.
Why was I waiting on somebody else?
Okay.
Why? If I want to go out for some food and get ready, why am I not doing that for myself?
I love that. So there wasn't ever, why have they done that to me or anything? You were just like, wait one sec. Who am I letting do this to me?
I was like, sorry.
I love that.
No. And not that I think that I'm this like best thing since sliced bread, but I also value myself now. And I think that's the difference.
Like,
and I think now, like literally that night I sat there and I was really upset, and my friend was actually going to drive down from the Lake District. She was like, I can't believe you sat already. She was like, I will drive now, we will go out. She was going to drive like over 2 hours.
I love that.
She's the best human in the world. But I was like, no, you don't need to drive down, I promise, I'm fine. And I went to bed, and I was pretty bruised, my ego that night. But like I say, it lit a fire in me to be like, we are not waiting for people now. We're not doing it, because all I wanted, I was just excited to go out for some food. As the single friend, a lot of people are spending time with the boyfriends, the fiancés, the families, and I'm happy for them. This is not me in any way saying they need to make space for me to be the third wheel. Although, Beck and Lewis, cheers for letting me be the third wheel. But what I will say is, it literally just thought, why am I bothered if I go out on my own? If I want to go for some food, what is actually stopping me? Not
feeling like you need to go with people all the time and wait for those people before you can go and do what you actually want to do.
So I got myself ready, and I did a full like get ready with me, the lot. I thought, I am going to make this a fancy night for myself.
Oh, I love it. Tell us what you wore.
So I just wore a blazer, a little plain top, some jeans, and some little heels. I recorded myself on the drive there, having a little one-woman party. I had a dance party in the car. I got myself ready. And so if anyone's thinking about doing this, what I recommend, so I booked online.
Okay.
So I didn't have to call, because that's something that, and it's something so trivial, just ringing and saying, can I have a table for one? But that sounded scary.
Yeah.
So I booked online. And when I got there, I'd taken my book with me, so it looked intentional. Because overthinking problems, I was like, people are just going to think I've been stood up here.
Yeah, of course. The book was just like sort of a little prop just to ease you into this.
I didn't want to just sit on my phone.
Yeah.
Because I thought, no, you're taking yourself
That's
out
it.
on a
And it's
date.
distracting away from what you were trying to feel in that moment. Yeah.
And I went up to my table. I was like right in the middle of the top of the restaurant.
Wow.
And it's got like a glass like square, if you will, looking down onto the bottom floor as well. So I was literally like in the middle.
Right in the thick of it. Like, I am here in the middle of this on my own.
I was like, I want to run away. But I'm really glad I didn't.
Yeah.
Because I went and I did it. And even the waitress that was serving me that night, she was like, I absolutely love this, by the way. She was like, I wish I could do something like this. And I was like, this is my first time. Do I look like I know what I'm doing?
And like, what was the reaction from other people? Was there any sort of like,
no one was bothered.
do you want to come and sit with us? Or
no one
everyone
was
just left? And do you know what? I experienced this when I was at Leeds University, because it's not really spoken about a lot, just going to have a meal or something on your own. I think because it's always been associated with being social, people don't realise like you can actually just have your daily food alone as well. You don't need a company to do that. But I remember walking up to uni and I just saw so many people just sat on their own, like just in the morning having a McDonald's on their own, just in the window. And it got to the point where I'd walked past like 3 or 4 places now, and I was like, near enough everyone was sat on their own. So I was like, how are they doing that? Like, I couldn't do that. And then I started, so I did the same thing back then and was like, oh, well, I'd been avoiding having like meals and stuff because I was like, I didn't want to sit on my own, but I didn't want to walk around with my food either. Once you start doing it, you realise in the city where everyone's really busy and not necessarily got the time to make arrangements and stuff, to be making plans and eating food and stuff with people, a lot of people do eat on their own. It's just, we're just not necessarily surrounded by it. I think in particular probably in this area as well.
Yeah, I do think in cities it's more common.
It is,
and places are designed more like
people are too busy to be even thinking about why you're sat on your own. But I feel like when you're in a smaller town and everyone knows each other and stuff, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, because I've done it before. I've gone past people sat on their own and gone, bless them. But now I'm just like, do you? Yeah. You don't have to pay for the other person. You don't have to entertain anyone. You just get to sit there and enjoy your meal.
I don't have to overthink what I'm eating. I can genuinely just get what I want, because I'm not worried about getting pasta all over my face or whatever. I can eat like an animal if I want. No one's got anything to say about it.
Oh, that's so cool though. I love that.
I felt so empowered on the way home. I was nervous on the way there, because I thought, what if people do stare at me? What if people do think like, what's she doing? What if they think I've been... So what if they do?
I know, do you know, we care so much, don't we? Yeah. So what helps you like switch off being bothered about people looking? So if it, for example, people had looked at you that day, like what sort of thing in your mind goes like, just forget about it, don't look at it, don't listen to it?
I think that instant panic is, oh my God, they're looking at me. What are they thinking? And then the book really helped, because I could just go back to my book, and that was keeping me engrossed. I wasn't paying attention to if anyone else was looking. So I think that was really helpful for me. But also, if people were looking, it's a split second. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to sit and stare. And if they do, that's on them.
It's a bit weird.
It's just a bit odd.
They're wasting their time.
You okay, hon? It's really nice. But I think that switch of, no, you're doing something for yourself. And if anything, it was more, I was proud of myself. Like, I felt like a kid that had got a little certificate in reception and come home to be like, look at what I did. I was so happy.
Do you think that's what it is then? Is that we don't do enough things for ourselves? We're constantly doing things for other people, even caring about what other people think. We're still projecting that same thing of, we really are doing this for other people. You're never doing things for yourself enough. So do you think that's what it is that it's not seen a lot and niche a lot, because actually a lot of people don't do a lot of things for themselves? Because it's not really some reason I think now it's changing where it's really encouraged to do as much as you can for yourself and to look after yourself first. But I think, especially in a lot of the older generations, we haven't been brought up like that. We have been brought up to make sure everyone else is okay, and that it's really important that everyone around you is okay. But I never once remember anyone saying, growing up, like, are you okay? Like, have you made sure you've got this and this and this?
Yeah.
Before you start doing that, because it just wasn't a thing. You always do things for other people first.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think that, like, very stereotypical, like, British difficult comes into play. Like, you don't show it if someone else needs you, you drop everything, you go help them. Like,
yeah.
And it's, don't get me wrong, I feel like it's a lovely thing to do.
Yeah.
And I'm still an empathetic person.
Yeah.
I'm still someone that can't help myself. I know I've spoken to you before, but I do carry other people's stuff on my shoulders.
Yeah.
Always have. I want to be a safe space for other people.
And it comes with being empathetic. I think that naturally happens. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's hard because it does weigh heavy. And then there is a point where you think, well, where do I go?
Yeah.
When I'm not okay, who's picking up on that?
Yeah.
And like I said, I am fortunate to now have people around me that do pick up on that. And I do have very much reciprocated energy in my friendships, which has been so important. But I think that takes time. It massively takes time. I've had amazing friendships over the years, but would I say that I had the energy in those that are doing this now? Probably not. Because I've met people now that see me, understand me, I see them, I understand them. It is very much a two-way street.
Do you think that's come from giving yourself more time and love, and then maybe that's then reflected that out into what you wanted to attract around you?
I think so. And I think me being more honest, as much as I thought me talking about my needs, what I want, that sounds very selfish to me and very, well, me, I need this, I need that. And that's why I was always so scared to do it. I never wanted to be that person that was like, well, I need this, so we're doing this. And it's never in that way. And I think the more you come to an understanding with yourself that that isn't what you're doing, you can advocate for yourself in a way that is just, I understand what you're saying, but this is what I need right now. And if that's, I need to take a step back, I need to, that's actually helped my friendships rather than hindered them.
Yeah.
I think the more I was people pleasing, it did nothing but destroy me. Like, in my mindset and I wasn't able to make any decisions for myself. I couldn't, because I just didn't ever consider what I wanted. And in turn, that gets annoying. Someone constantly saying, oh, well, just do what you want to, oh, just do what you want to do, oh, I don't know what I want to do. That's annoying to be around, and it is. But it comes from a place of your own self-worth, I think, is the really, really big overarching factor. I've really struggled with my self-worth over the years and what I am worthy of, what I'm not, and that's why I will always give what the other person wants, or I do give a lot of my energy away. And I know, especially in relationships, I'm really bad for that and have been historically. I tend to fall quickly if I do, and I lose myself completely. I just, where are we going, what we're doing, I'm in, I'm down, ride or die, which is a great thing, and it's a romantic notion.
So you just give everything to that other person.
Yeah, and I just lose myself, and that's not on them, is what I've also learned.
Yeah.
That is not on anybody else. That's not me saying anyone's a bad person. That is me saying, no, there's something in you there that you need to work on.
Yeah.
Because you need to value yourself enough to know what you bring to the table. Because that's what's going to help a relationship in any sense, whether it's friendship, romantic, whatever it is. I need to know what I bring to the table to make that relationship flourish, like, in any way. So I feel like for me, as soon as I started to see more value in myself and understand more about myself as a person, what I liked, what I didn't like, and I could speak about that openly, it just helped my relationships. And then it came naturally, the people that were kind of matching that energy. And
what are some things that you maybe weren't doing for yourself before that you've realised actually you really like and do now? You know, you were saying there's things that you've realised, like, oh, actually I really like doing this. And so what were the things that you were maybe doing before that you didn't like as much, and what are the things that you do now that you've realised, actually I really love doing that and I want to do more of that now?
So I know I mentioned lockdown was quite a turning point for me. So before that, I did nothing. No hobbies, no nothing. I would watch TV, eat snacks, That's it. I would work, come home, bed, snacks, done. If anyone suggested going on a walk, why would I want to do that? I've got a bed. It's comfy. Why would I want to move? And that was my mindset.
This
like,
is such completely different Sophie.
Wild, isn't it? And then after lockdown, so the dance class was one of the first things I signed myself up to.
So this is how, actually no, me and Sophie met way back.
Yeah.
Because myself and some of the dancers had flash mobbed actually at your brother's wedding, which was years and years ago. And then years on, actually, we ended up reconnecting, and you've come here for some dance classes.
Yeah. And I saw the SAS class, and I thought, that is what I need. I need my SAS back. Because I've always been quite, I'm a Sagittarius, fiery, feisty. But I'd lost that spark, and I think it's a good thing to have. Like, I didn't want to be a wallflower.
Oh, yeah, you've got to have a bit of fire in you.
You've got to, like, to get anywhere in this life, you need a bit of fire.
Yeah.
So I came to the dance class, and I couldn't believe how much that changed for me, because I remember coming and being absolutely terrified, because I thought, I know no one in this class. I've never done anything like that, and I just loved it. It quickly became a safe space. And that was a big changing point for me. And then I actually saw someone on Instagram that had been on a hike, and I thought, it was quite good, that. I can do that. Never been on a hike in my life. I barely went on a walk. And I dragged my friend out with me, and I was like, come on, go for a walk. And I dragged her to Rydal with me in the Lake District.
Oh, lovely.
And we went to Rydal Cave.
Yeah.
And I still remember just how clueless I was, because I'd asked about different apps and stuff and what I should use to find routes, and I downloaded All Trails. And we were on the way up, and I remember having the phone and looking and going, the cave should be there. And looking that way, and Elle literally tapped me on the shoulder and went, do you mean that one? And I turned around, massive cave behind me. Like, I literally had no clue where it was. But I was just happy to be there.
Yeah.
And then on the way down, there's actually a picture where I'm just sat on a rock looking over the water that she'd taken that day. And I had never felt calmer.
Wow.
I
literally just got goosebumps everywhere, because there's just nothing like it.
No. And that was where I thought, you know what? We could be onto something here.
Yeah.
This could really change things and the way I feel and the way I think. So I dragged her to Malham next. We stopped at Go Outdoors, got her a pair of walking boots, and off we went.
This isn't the same day, or
no? This was maybe a couple of weeks later. So this is when we'd just been allowed out after lockdown. So everyone had flocked to being outside, because we'd all been cooped up like pigeons for that long. So Malham was so busy, but Malham is still to this day one of the places where I just feel happy.
Oh, wow.
I love Malham
so I spent most of my childhood in Malham. Good. So if we ever went to the lakes, that's where. So we used to stay, I think it was called Brockwood Hall.
Nice.
So we always stayed in that same place all the time. So yeah, same for me. Malham's like a childhood place for me, yeah.
And especially Harry Potter fan.
Yes. Well, it wasn't back then. I need to go back now. And actually, so what's that? That's Harry Potter.
Yeah, so in the Deathly Hallows at the end, where they're looking for the Horcruxes, they go to the top of the limestone pavement at Malham Cove.
Oh, I didn't know this.
They activate this.
Oh, yeah, of course. I've heard about the Malham Cove thing on one of the makings of.
Yeah.
I'd not put two and two together. That
yeah, so the top of the limestone pavement, some of it's filmed up there.
Right.
So that was obviously a big selling point for me.
Yeah.
Which is why I wanted to go. But when I went up there, just the view, everything, it's got everything that I love there. Yeah. And I just felt peaceful there. So I go back there whenever. And that's the first solo hike I did, actually, like a little bit later, once I built my confidence. I actually went and did my first solo hike there as well. So it's quite a special place for me.
Yeah.
And then it just spiraled from there. And then I started my Instagram, my Wandering Soph account. And to be honest, I started that page because I knew I was clueless. I knew that I had no business being in the mountains or the fells. I didn't have a clue what I was doing.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know more.
Yeah.
And this is where I said, like, my drive comes in, because I was like, right, I need to know everything there is to know now. And I knew that social media is such a powerful tool, and I'd seen people have these accounts where they're posting where they're going, and I was like, I can get ideas from here. And I literally started a little notes app in my phone, and I was writing down all these places, and I've still got the initial list that I started.
I love it.
Because I wasn't really using many apps and stuff at that time. And I use All Trails a lot more now, but I didn't at the time. But I was writing down all these places and starting to connect with people, and I just fell in love with being outside. Now, I am the child that when we were kids and we'd have a water fight, everyone would come out in like the bikinis and shorts. I'd come out head to toe in waterproofs, even as a kid.
Really? Oh my god!
I remember.
Sorry, I've got this like picture of you coming out like a Ghostbuster, just like I'm
100%.
ready.
Literally, like coat strapped around my face, full waterproofs. And I was scared of my own shadow. And this is what I mean. This has gone back like years of me being quite an anxious person. I liked my own space, my own comfort. I wanted to be clean. Like I didn't climbing a tree would never have been done.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've regressed. Because now as I get older, you will find me swinging off any tree. If there's a rock, I'm climbing it.
Yeah,
if there's water,
she's not joking. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm doing all those things that I was nervous to. It's like it just unlocks something new for me.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad that I didn't enjoy it as a kid now, because part of me felt a little bit jealous at first that like there were kids that had grown up with this, and I can imagine the magic of seeing it as a kid. But then I thought, would I have appreciated it as a kid?
Yeah.
No, because I wasn't that sort of child.
I think that a lot as well. There's so many things I appreciate now that there was no point me having them as a kid because I just didn't have the appreciation for it. Yeah,
I just wouldn't have enjoyed it at all. I was an indoorsy child, but it's also given me like a new lease of life now. So I'm glad that I found it now, because I feel like it was meant to happen that way
at the right time.
Yeah. And now, you know, my Instagram account, I was connecting with other people that were really into hiking, and then I've met some amazing people along the way. And I think coming from a small town where I never really felt like what I wanted to do aligned. I'm not a big drinker. I don't really like going out. I don't get me wrong, I'll enjoy a night out every now and again, but it's just not something I enjoy doing all the time. And I always felt a bit like on the outside, because everyone, especially when we were younger, loved going out as you do. Like it's normal. But for me, I just didn't really enjoy it. And I felt like as much as I was kind of just going along for the ride, and everyone's had a bit of a phase where they enjoy going out for a bit, but that was literally it for me. There was maybe one summer that I enjoyed going out quite a lot, but also looking back, it's probably when I was in a really bad place mentally. And now being outside and just touching some grass makes me feel so much better.
You know, it's the basic sort of, I'm not even going to say minimal stuff, but just like the natural sources that we have here are just a basic thing. It's just happiness, isn't it? Yeah.
And I think it can be quite frustrating for people, because I feel like automatically there's a link between, you know, someone saying they're depressed or they have anxiety and someone going, well, have you been outside? Let's not simplify it by that, because sometimes going outside is the last thing you want to do. You want to stay in your safe space. And I feel like it can be oversimplified by saying, well, have you been for a walk? I'm not trying to simplify it to that, but I know that is what helps me. And being around nature, it doesn't even necessarily need to be a walk. Sometimes I would literally take my book, go to the local res, and there's a little bench, and I would sit there with a little flask and like a brew and read my book, because I knew being outside and it was calm would really help me. And that's what works for me. And I think that's the important thing. It's being able to understand yourself. And trying new things, not being scared to try something new. But I feel like you need to do them when you're in quite a good place.
So that you can sort of and try and remember how that feels. But I think when you are struggling with mental health and we have sort of downer days, we sort of self-sabotage a little bit, where we know actually we felt so good doing that. It's almost like we don't think we're deserving of that feeling. So it's being able to tap into, know that it's really important that the things that make you feel good, that you do go and do those in that moment, because you deserve it. And I think that's what it is when you're feeling a bit blue and down, is that we go back into that, or we don't deserve it, or we're not worthy of this, and it's being like, no, go out and do it. And do you always feel better after you've done that as well? Is there any time where it's not worked?
I think when I was struggling over this, so seasonally things change for me. So I tend to do quite well spring, summer. Autumn, I quite enjoy autumn. And Christmas used to be my favourite time of year. And I had a very hard realisation last December, because that's when things
I was going to ask you what brought that on.
That came to a head. And so my birthday is in December. Christmas used to be my favourite time of year. I absolutely loved it. Number one Christmas fan. I actually realised last year that I actually find December really difficult now. And I think I'd always said, oh yeah, I'm a big Christmas person, because it's what's expected, because that's what I've always been, and I've always loved it. But I was forcing it. I wasn't enjoying it. I found it really difficult. And I do love being single and being on my own, but it's a very coupley time of year.
Okay.
That I find really triggering. And I know that a lot of things happened for me personally around kind of September onwards. When I look at patterns of things, breakups, family members passing, that sort of thing, it all happens for me in that time of year.
Yeah.
So unconsciously, these things were creeping in that I wasn't even aware of myself, that I was really struggling with.
Do you think like celebrating Christmas and trying to get in the festive mode stuff was just sort of actually masking essentially how you could be feeling around that? Because, you know, I've experienced the same, having sort of death anniversaries and like really awful things that have happened during same September, December, so I can totally relate that, how that feels. So do you think that's actually been masking it all these years, and then last year's been the year where you've been like...
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And it sounds like a lot of things were surfacing last year 100%. As well. Yeah.
And I struggle with my birthday.
Okay.
And I've heard this more and more, actually. The more I've come to my own realisation, the more I've seen that people actually really struggle with the birthday. Because as much as it's a celebration, and it absolutely should be, I love other people's birthdays, don't get me wrong. And I will go all out for someone else's birthday.
Yeah.
But my own, I would rather stay in bed all day.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to do it.
I can't put my finger on what it is. Like, what is it?
For me, I think it's the fact that we have expectations of ourselves, don't we? And like I say, I'm pretty tough on myself. And if I haven't hit those expectations, another year's gone. For me, it's another year marking. This is not what I planned.
Yeah, and it's like not having the expectation, not have meeting those by a certain age, you know, which I don't know about you, but as I've gotten older now, I've just been like, oh, stop that. Like, I just started to break that now, because again, I think it's a lot of things we were conditioned with, because I think our parents and that generation were very much built around age and what you're supposed to do by what age, because they, I think, lived with the expectation that you were going to die at a certain age, and so the life becomes like this crazy race. Whereas now I don't even think about that, because did you know, actually, like years ago, and I read this somewhere, like probably about 3 weeks ago now, where people, I'm talking like decades and decades ago, like ages ago, people actually used to live until they were in their hundreds.
Wow.
Some people actually used to make it to like the 300s. This was, well, a lot of people say that, don't they? Is that, you know, a lot of single people live longer. But, you know, again, looking at the stress and the things that you do for yourself in that time as well. But slowly along the way, we've sort of, again, conditioned ourselves that we only live to a certain age. So you get what you expect. You only live to a certain age if that's what you think. So I've really been trying to break that paradigm in my head. I mean, yeah, I don't know if I want to be here till 200 really, but it'd be interesting.
Talks about still be working by then. But I feel like as well, like you say, it's a generational thing. And we are living a very, very different reality to what the generation before.
Breaking, like it has broken so much, hasn't it? Like
ridiculous.
A lot of patterns and generational stuff. Like
it's huge. And I think some things massively for the better, and I think some things, like relationship wise, like my mum and dad, for example, have been together since high school.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were super young. They're still together now. She had my brother when I think she was 21.
Yeah, same with my mum had me at that. Yeah,
still living in their house.
Yeah,
they got me back. They can't get rid of me. I'm like a boomerang. Fling me out, I come back. In the best way possible. I just come back with interest. I just bring more pets. But for me, not that they've put the pressure. I can't help but think, but it's different. But I also can't help but think, well, you were married by the, what am I doing? Like, you were married with 2 kids by my
like
age.
both sides of the coin sort of thing.
I'm a massive kid. I don't know what day it is most of the time. I can barely look after myself.
Yeah.
And it's just, things are different. And I think values, there's a lot that's changed in that time. Relationship dynamics. And I think deep down, if I am really honest with myself, I am an old school, like I'm a romantic.
Yeah.
I am. But I'm also not willing to just go with the flow then if it doesn't match what I need and what I want anymore. Like, I very much know what I want. I know what I bring to the table, and I know what I would like in terms of my relationship, my ideals. And it is more a set of ideals. It's not that I want this characteristic, that characteristic out of something, but I know what I can give myself. And I don't want to go into anything knowing that I will probably take a step back from doing those things for myself, because I would hope that my dynamics do change when you get into a relationship. They absolutely do. There's no point in sitting here saying,
you have to work. You have to work, you know, and it's, I think that expectation of the person is not going to change is, again, I think it's like an old pattern, because you should be growing and changing as you get older. And I think you should see a change in the person you're with, because if anything, I'd be a little concerned that they're not developing and growing and changing, because together, that's what I feel like you should sort of empower each other to do, is that, you know, I feel like we all meet people to help learn something new or grow in a certain way. So it's, now I see that in a different way, where it's like, yeah, why aren't you growing? You need to, do you know what I mean?
100%.
Like, that person should grow and develop. I think actually people have problems now when that person's not changing, but you're continuing to grow and change, because it doesn't match anymore then.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, we're never the finished article. No one is perfect. I am far from perfect. We are never the finished article. But I do think for me, there's kind of a fine line between self-help and self-sabotage. Because for me, like, I know there's some amazing books out there that can help. I know there's some amazing podcasts. There's a lot. There's therapy. There's all sorts you can do to better yourself. But I think for me, there's a very fine line of treating yourself like a project and living in the now. If we're constantly delving into these self-help books all the time, and, you know, even the algorithms on social media will feed whatever is in your mind at the minute, which, when I am in a very bad place, I will limit my social media time, because it throws you into that spiral very, very quickly. Is what I found.
Tell me a bit more about that.
So for me, especially TikTok, for example, if you interact with a certain post that relates to you and it's maybe a little bit negative or a little bit down and self-deprecating, all of a sudden you'll see more of them. But you can't help but read them, because you're already in a very negative mind space anyway. So that's relating.
And what you're reading might be what you're feeling at the time. Is that what you're saying? Right.
So then all of a sudden, all of your feed then starts to become these posts and telling yourself the things that you're actually relaying to your mind. And it's constant. And even if they're not negative, the constant self-help, for me anyway, in particular, I don't find it helpful. The odd one every now and again, and the odd positive post, yes, I find really, really helpful. But I don't want to keep treating myself as a project, which is what I've understood now. I want to let myself live in the now, which is why I've actually switched, and I'm reading a lot of, like, cowboy romance and all this sort of stuff, and things that are just light and not real life. A bit of escapism,
just lightheartedness. But
and my mindset's been better than ever.
Oh, great. That's really good. It's interesting to know that. I get that. Because you can start to just, I suppose it's a bit like when you get a sort of some symptoms and then you start Googling it, and then before you know it, you've gone from having a sniffle to, like, potentially you might be on your deathbed in a few months, and then you don't realise how much that changes, like, your brain and how your body starts thinking and the cells in your body, you know. And for me, I'm a big believer of this is how things start to build in terms of, like, health. So yeah, it's really interesting what you just said there, because I think actually mentally, breaking that chain is really important there.
100%. And I almost think it's like when you're training at the gym, you can't train consistently every single day without a break, without giving yourself time to rest and for your muscle to grow and all that sort of stuff. It's similar, like, with your mental health, it's similar with your self-progression. You need to take on so much. Okay, let's put that into place. Let's see how I feel with that. We go again. It's almost like a building a cup phase. Like, whichever way you want to look at it, I think, and it's like I said, we're always growing, but this never stops. Like, this train should never stop.
We've, like, actually we end up talking about that a lot, where we say, like, we're going into, like, really self-loving and trying to help ourselves, but then we end up trying to do all of that in one go, and we just think, like, right, let's do everything and anything possible, and you don't realise, like, you fall back in that same pattern and entrapment of feeling like you've got to achieve it all like very quickly. And you're so right there. It is such an ongoing process. I think it's being okay with the fact that it is an ongoing process. Like, I don't know, we've both said this like to each other a few times where we've had to let go of what the product might be.
Yeah.
And just enjoy the actual process of it, because the process is the most of your life. Your products and what you get from that are actually just the small wins here and there, but what you spend most of your time in is progress and growth. And it's a hard one, isn't it?
Very hard.
To accept that and be comfortable with it, because we're so used to a product so that we feel like validation and we feel like, yes, like I did it, because we've just been taught that when you get to that win, you're just like, woo, this is
like
what I've got. That's it. Not realising actually all the progress is all that as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Which is similar to hiking in a way. You get to the summit for what? 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Literally, yeah.
And I think that's why I resonate so much with it, because, you know, it's the people I've met along the way. It's the actual pushing yourself to get to these places I never thought I'd be.
Yeah.
Like I say, from the lazy girl who wouldn't move and go on a walk.
Yeah.
To be hiking
such a big
mountains,
change.
to be out on the water on paddle boards and climbing walls. Like, I could not be further from the person that I was. But it's all because I've put myself out there and I'm actually trying new things and I'm understanding myself more. And I feel like I am at a point where I genuinely do think I am more at peace with myself than I ever have been. And I'm a lot gentler with myself. If I don't want to do something, I'm not forcing myself to do it. And that doesn't make me a bad person.
Yeah.
And I feel like, so one of the things that I did this year that was new that I'd never done before is I actually started counselling.
Right, okay.
And I did that in January. I just did it for a 6-week block.
Okay.
And the difference in my mindset.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we were going back and trying to understand, you know, where my anxiety and depression was coming from. And I started quite high on the scores to begin with. And as the sessions went on weekly, just did it over the phone. So I felt safe, like they gave me the opportunity to either go in person, video call, or on the phone. I chose over the phone because it gave me like a sense of anonymity almost, you know, to speak freely. If someone couldn't see me.
Yeah.
Because the headspace I was in then, I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't want anyone to see me. But by the 6th session, the difference in my mindset was, and I think it was just allowing myself the space to speak freely to someone that had no context, no nothing about me.
No judgment.
Yeah, completely freeing. And I remember the counsellor actually saying to me at one point, there was a situation where I didn't know whether to respond to somebody or not, because everything in me told me I didn't want to.
Okay.
And I didn't want to respond to this conversation because it was actually quite triggering for me to speak to this person. And I'd spent a lot of time building myself back up and I didn't want to engage at all. But there was a conflicting part, the people pleasing side of me, that still wanted to reply because it felt rude to not reply. And secondly, it felt kind of immature to be dragging something out after quite a bit of time had passed. But my counsellor literally said to me, she was like, okay, just take a minute and take a breath, process what you've just said. She said, but I just want you to give yourself the permission that it doesn't make you a bad person if you don't reply. It was so validating for me, and it was so therapeutic, funnily enough, in therapy. But it was very, very soothing for me, for someone to just say to me, you can give yourself that permission. That statement of you can give yourself this, that, whatever you want to finish that sentence with, changed a lot for me, because I can give myself the permission. I can make my own choices. I can do what I want to do. Like, there is nothing in this world stopping me. If I want to reply, don't want to reply. If I want to run around the streets, like doing whatever, it doesn't matter. And it was that permission. I don't know what it was. It just changed something in my mind to be like, oh yeah, you can.
You realise, like,
I'm a grown-up.
You're free.
Yeah. I don't need permission from anybody. Whatever works for me is what I need to do. And I think that's where, because I do feel like people, you know, I've had messages saying, oh, you're so positive, like it's really inspiring to see, you know, you're doing this, you're doing that. Instagram's a highlight reel is the first thing I will always say. You see a very, very tiny snippet of somebody's life. You have no clue what is going on in that person's life.
Mm.
I was posting pictures last year. Well, I posted a picture from the rave I went to because that was my first thing to check off that I'd never done before. I went to that rave. I'd spent the last 2 days in bed crying. I hadn't moved. And in fact, I got a call from one of the girls that day and I could barely talk on the phone. I didn't want to go. There was nothing about me that wanted to go to that rave. But we said we'd go around to one of the girls' houses and we'd just have a night in, but we'd take our outfits, and if we decided to go, we'd go.
Right. Okay.
So we'd change the plan. But then last minute we were like, no, let's get changed, let's go. And I'm really glad I did. But nothing in me wanted to go that night.
Okay.
Nothing about me wanted to go. And people just saw the picture of the sparkly pants and the glasses and the makeup and they think that you're in a good place. And this is why I'm very careful. And I do want to be more realistic with
I was going to say, is that something you would then start to introduce on your socials?
I would like to.
Yeah.
I would like to, because I do think it's a smoke show. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a snippet of someone's life.
It's a hard one, isn't it? That because for me, that's what would easily make me want to come away from it. Is that there's just this concept of perfection all the time, and it's hard, to keep with that. You know, even with the sort of positive self-love stuff, because it's like, then it's portraying like you should feel like that and do that for yourself all the time, you know. And there are days where, like you said, like you're not going to feel like doing that.
Yeah.
So do you have any of those sort of like off days now since the counselling? What do you do with that now in terms of like giving permission to yourself that you might not have done before? So do you try and sort of go out and about and do things for yourself, or have you given yourself permission to go, it's okay to feel like this actually today?
Yeah, and I think that's been massively important for me, giving myself the permission to feel how I feel. If I wake up one day and I'm in a funk, which is what I like to call it, then I'm allowing myself to do whatever feels right in that moment. If that means I need a day in bed, binge watching Harry Potter, that's what I'm going to do.
That's like my ideal.
Yeah, it's just
that's my ideal night.
And I think it's highlighting for me the things that do make me feel better. And examples like, I love a dance party. Music, I forgot about music for a while. When the first time I went into a really bad slump before lockdown, even on like my way driving anywhere, I wouldn't listen to anything. Silence everywhere. And I think because of lockdown, because I was stuck in my room all the time, I wasn't listening to, because it was usually in my car journeys that I'd listen to music and it'd pick up my mood. I wasn't doing any of that. I'd forgotten about it altogether. And then I realised that music did have a massive, massive impact, and there's certain songs that will still stick with me now as my little power
It's
anthems.
just incredible, isn't it, music? Like how much it can uplift
and
you.
I knew you'd relate to this. Like, I have playlists now, and if one of the guys...
I think it was you that advised me to do this.
It's just having a little power playlist is the best thing.
That you know is going to just pick up your frequency, lift up that vibration and get you to. So I have like a happy playlist where I'm like, doesn't matter how I'm feeling, I know the songs on that playlist are going to bring some happiness out of me.
100%. And like, I have shared this playlist with the girls when they're going through a breakup, a bad time, when they're not feeling themselves. I'm like, I promise you, put this playlist on.
You're going to feel.
And you know, my friend was like, I've taken 3 wrong turns on the way home because she was listening to the playlist and got that into
just got lost into it.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's just, that was a big one for me, and using music to change my mood. And like I said, there's still songs now that'll make me smile, even though I was listening to them in some of the worst times for me personally. What they did for me. And like, even my niece will know them, because like we'd sing them in the car, like when I relied on my family really heavily in that period, and I was spending a lot of time. And my niece is my little mini me. Like, I love my niece and nephew to death, and seeing her light up when these songs come on as well, and
made it even more joyful. Her own power
anthems. She's 7, and she's like our song, and she'll sing the way in the car, and you know, and she'll take that with her, and I feel like that's probably something that I'll always pass on. I love that.
What were the other things you listened to? Music?
So I listen to music. I know that like sometimes it is just a case of getting my colouring book out. It's quiet, it's peaceful. It gives me something to focus
and you're adding them some colour to your life.
And if I don't want to leave the house, it's like a real safe activity to do if I'm really in the pits. If I can go outside, I love climbing. Climbing really helps with when I need to clear my head because I'm not thinking about anything else. You've got to think about your next step. You've got to focus
on it. Yeah,
it's mental as well as physical. Like when you are climbing, so that does really help. And hiking, when I am hiking, I don't really think about anything else.
No,
I don't. Yeah. If I can get out, I
think that's what is great about hiking, in particular, to just walking. I think there is something about hiking and getting to a certain summit. You really are so focused on the journey there and how you're going to get there, and obstacles you might find along the way, you know, and it's a whole different thing on its own, isn't it?
100%. Yeah. And I love a rock. If I can just take myself off and eat my butty on a rock, I'm telling you, it's life changing. I don't know what it is, but there is something so calming about sitting and eating your little back lunch on a rock.
A comfortable one, I hope. I just find it hard to find a comfy one. My bottom will feel great on.
I've got my little mats now, so I can just sit on a rock.
Oh, I love that. That's cool.
Yeah. And I do think there's so many things you can do, but I think it's highlighting for you. I think when people think self-care, they instantly think face mask, candles, whatever. And those things are great. There's a reason we jump to them when it's self-care, because it feels indulgent.
Yeah.
And it feels like a bit of luxury.
It's something, exactly that, isn't it? Not something you would give yourself every day. Yeah.
And I think I keep seeing more about this movement of people saying, don't save these things for like a rainy day.
Yeah.
Just treat yourself if you want to.
Yeah.
Just wear the nice perfume.
Yeah.
Wear the outfit you've been looking forward to wearing. Who says you have to save it for anything? And I love this shift in mindset because it's right. Why are you waiting?
Yeah. And what you're waiting for.
Yeah. What are we waiting for?
Yeah. Why is only that day special and not every day?
Yeah. And it comes back to, why am I waiting for someone to take me for this meal? I'm going to go myself. Yes, I will wear the perfume. If I want to dye my hair tomorrow, I'm going to go and do it. And it doesn't always have to be expensive. It doesn't need to be, some lush thing to treat yourself. You can be going to getting your favourite coffee or making yourself your favourite coffee.
Just a little bit of luxury. Yeah.
There's so many ways, but I think it's being able to recognise in yourself that you're going down that path and you know that you're not feeling quite yourself, recognising it quick enough to pick it up. Because I think we can be quite quick to judge ourselves and be like, you've got no right to feel like that. You know that there's bigger things going on in the world. When I'm in that sort of mood, there is part of me that's like, are you kidding? Like, your problems are nothing.
Yeah.
But it's subjective, and I think that's what people need to remember and just be a bit more gentle with themselves. If you need to take that time, shut out what else is going on.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about I am one to carry things. If I know that things are weighing heavy on other people, I'll try and take them on myself. And it's hard.
And I think now you're finding the distinction between actually what's been yours to carry, which, has been a lot, just you, and realising actually what if you've been carrying as well as for everybody else. And I think now that you've let go of that weight and being able to just focus on what's yours. And, I think a lot of people do, especially if you're empathetic, sometimes I can wake up and I've got this wave of like sadness in there. And now I've started to go, okay, didn't feel like this when I went to bed last night. What did I do this week that particularly I might have picked up on someone else's energy? And now instead of going, I feel like shit today, I go, is this yours? Is it yours or not? And I find now just by saying that to myself, it goes if it's not mine. Because I had not given it permission in my body to be there.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise what a shift that is because I've never done that before.
It's wild, isn't it?
And then if it is mine or something is clearing, I just put on a quick, the frequency I need, clear it, do a little card reading or whatever for myself, and it just shifts it. But it's actively being able to do that, because I think when you get busy and stuff, you just carry on, and before you know it, you've gone like a year and you're carrying all sorts of energy and everything, and you've not had time to deal with your stuff yet.
You don't realise.
And, you end up in a big whirl of mess because you needed to address all these things, along the way. So as we're coming to, Christmas now, I feel like I know what you might say, just because we talk a lot. How are you feeling coming up to Christmas now? And are there particular things you're sort of preparing yourself for, or are you just allowing it to just be what it's going to be? What's different to last year?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm going into it more aware now of my own feelings and why I feel the way I feel. Through the counselling, I've kind of processed why I feel this way.
Yeah.
And the permission. I will give myself permission to feel like that if I need to. If I feel emotional around my birthday, because like I said, that seems to be the pivotal point where I really struggle is my birthday. I'm actually quite excited for my birthday this year, only because I feel like it's going to be quite cathartic.
Mm.
My 20s have been so up and down,
Yeah.
so turbulent, and I feel like I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about who I am, what I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
My ideals have completely changed
Yeah.
in terms of my career. Everything has changed recently, which would have been terrifying to me a few years ago. There's no way I would have taken a leap. But now it's kind of exciting.
Do you feel like it's happened at the time where you've done all this work on yourself? It's probably happened at a time where you were able to handle it better than maybe what you would have done last
100%.
year. Yeah.
I would not have handled things.
This could have been a tipping point.
Yeah.
Last
it
year.
would have been another thing on top that I would have been bottling up and I think the denial didn't help because all this time I was saying, oh, I love Christmas. Christmas is my favourite time of year. I'm well excited. Let me just put my decorations up. But when I was putting them up, I literally felt empty. Like I was not actually excited to do it.
Yeah.
It made me want to cry. I didn't want to put anything up. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Like if you don't want to, I need to give myself that permission to not do it. Because I feel like as well, when in previous years I was in a relationship over Christmas, it was my favourite time of year because that's something that, you know, it was a different experience to be in a relationship. But since then, gosh, I can't even remember the last time I was in a relationship over Christmas. It was a long time ago, a very long time ago. And it is a completely different experience being on your own. And I feel like the romantic in me has never really given up that. Maybe one day that'll happen again. Yeah. But then the closer it comes, the more like the sabotage in my brain comes in going, but you don't deserve that. Yeah. There's a reason you're on your own. Like it can't help but feel. But I need to remind myself, I'm not on my own because I have to be. Yeah. I'm on my own because I want to be. I've not found that partner in crime. Like I am not someone that takes life that seriously. Yeah. I'm a joker. I deflect by using quite a self-deprecating sense of humour a lot because that is my coping mechanism. Yeah. It's like a very Chandler-esque style way of dealing with things. Always related to Chandler in Friends, but it is my way of coping. And I kind of don't want to change that about myself though. I like my kind of dark sense of humour in the way I cope.
And I think when you say like you're alone because you're not in a relationship, you know, I think it's remembering that you don't have to feel like you've got something and with something just by being in a relationship now. I think you found now that can easily be filled by having the friends, 100%. Right friends around you, having your family around you and stuff. And that hopefully, well, like when it does come, will just feel like a bonus to the things you've already got now rather than putting all of that energy into that one person to make you happy, because now you can make yourself happy, you know. And I think it's so key in like, that was one thing I learned in my 20s, and you know, me and Adam say this to each other a lot, where we genuinely feel like we wouldn't have met if we'd not found happiness in ourselves first, because we had both been through a lot of things where we were really relying on someone to make us happy. And like even now, it's a constant, like I want to say challenge, but also just like progression, I think is probably the right word now, of like always knowing what makes you happy and finding those things. And I don't think you ever fully fill that tank or whatever again. No. It's the same thing of trying to get to the end of your happiness in the product. It's just like just little things,
100%. You know, and that would be quite a sad concept if we could like max out our happiness. Do you know what I mean? So that's a good thing, because you never want to do that. And I think you're right. So being able to fill your own cup in the first instance and giving yourself everything that you need. But I don't feel like anything's missing from my life now. And I can say that hand on heart. I've never felt like that before.
Which is amazing.
Like I always felt like something was missing. And now I don't. And I think that's an amazing thing to like turn around and change.
Give it a quick switch off. I just got another thing on actually.
Well, I've
done is it gone off on its own? Oh, you've done it on your watch? I need to get into this technology. Because what it is, my wrists have been a little bit sore, so my mum had got me like this smartwatch. It's sort of the size of yours, but it just feels a little heavy. I've just always been a bit funny with dancing with things on my wrists. Obviously I love my rings. I'll always love my jewellery and earrings, but they don't get in the way of my dancing, you see. So anything on my wrist, I'm like,
might just fly every now and again.
No, and I could just be stopping the music. Quick little ding. Do you know what I mean?
Recorded.
Especially in heels. You've seen the way I slumped to.
You've got to do the little.
I turn into like Frankenstein, putting the music on, and then I come like walking back again.
Sass back in.
Or when I've got to come to the back and we're turning around, just sort of stomp my way there. But yeah, I need to get into this technology. I've got lots to learn yet. So yeah, just wanted to speak a bit more about how coming up to this month now. So tell me overall what you feel like if you was to advise other people now who, and I think this can affect you even if you're not in a relationship. It's the seasonal thing we were just saying, where we're at that time now where we have to try and embrace the change, because if you don't embrace it you can fall. And
100%.
I think for me, I've always believed in giving myself permission to feel the way I do, because you're not going to feel good all of the time, and actually you find more of yourself when you have had those crap days, because for me all it's doing is it's highlighting the things that still need healing, and it highlights things about you as well, embracing your shadows and not just the light. So I think what I always try and keep in my mind is that's okay, just don't stay there for too long, because that can feel comfortable, especially in the past where you've had lack of self-worth and you want to self-sabotage, not falling back into that pattern again. So like I'm like, okay, after 2 days, right, okay, come on, get up. Now, don't stay there, because you can easily stay there. So with that sort of in mind, being something that you've experienced yourself as well, what would you really try and advise? Because you know yourself, if people say, oh, wouldn't you try this? Sometimes it might not be the things that you want to hear. And so you might just not feel like you're deserving of that yet. So how 100%. Do we get from that dark hole to just making those steps now?
Each day's got to take its time. Do not be thinking too far ahead, which I think was a big one for me, because you look for this like end goal of getting out of it and being back to happy and your like baseline, your normal, but that's so far away from where you are, and you know that in yourself. So you have to take each day as it comes, but just try and make a tiny bit of progress each day. One small thing that you didn't do yesterday, even if it's getting a shower and getting a new pair of pajamas on, that can be self-care. Go and do that. Whatever you need to do, go make yourself a bit of food. Do something. Change your bedding. Just one thing, because that can feel so overwhelming when you're in that state. And I've been there. I have been there where I can tell my mental state by the state of my room. If my room is cluttered, my mind is cluttered. And I literally did a full exercise with my sister-in-law of wiping my room clean of everything. We threw away loads of stuff. Anything that had ties to anything has gone. I cleansed that room top to bottom, and I can't tell you the difference.
A great thing you can do at this time of year is great, is that you see it as a clearing of stuff.
And try and embrace the things about the darker nights that you actually enjoy. Enjoy being cozy. Enjoy putting on that film. Go and get yourself a little hot chocolate. Buy the silly mugging or bargains or whatever it is that makes you feel cozy.
I literally adore this about you, because I already bought that stuff because of you. Because I saw she'd like turned her room into this like autumn coziness. Like, I'm ready for it. It's a bit early, but like, let's embrace this change now and make it feel good instead of dreading it coming, because I'm definitely like, even myself, are surrounded by people who really dread this time of year. And it, for us, it's been an ongoing family pattern for a while. So this time I was like, right, okay, let's embrace a bit of self. So I actually went out and only got that stuff because I'd seen your room, and I was like, that is such a good idea, let's make it. And I love like the olive greens and oranges together. And every time then I saw it, since seeing that, I was like, oh, it's so cozy. Like, it's going to be a bit darker, but at the same time, I've just been thinking of it as basic of, do you know what? The trees need some water now. They've been putting up with a lot of sun.
Exactly.
If we want to benefit from our earth, they need a bit of rest now. They need a bit of water. Let the old stuff come off. Let's be excited for the new stuff coming. Do you know what I mean? Next year. And, seeing it like that. And we're not going to think like that every day. There's going to be days where it's like...
Some days it's going to feel grim. And I know that, and that's okay. And I think that's the difference. I'm going to take each day as it comes. If there's days I need to be softer with myself, I absolutely will be softer with myself. And only giving what I can in that day. If I can only give 20% of what I usually could, that's still 100% of what I have.
Yes, I love that. I spoke about that as well.
It's still 100% of what I have. And not beating myself up for that, because in the past I would have gone, well, you've done nothing. But it's all you had to give that day.
That's
all right. And I think this just being okay with things a little bit more. I'm trying to not analyse things. If things are changing, okay, let's let it happen. There's a reason it's happening. And that mind shift is something that you can't go back on.
Yeah.
Once you get there, and it's hard, and people talk about it, and I always thought, well, I do that. I didn't.
Yeah.
I did not do that because I was still over analysing everything. I was still beating myself up. I was still expecting too much of myself and being too blooming hard on myself. We're all human. We make mistakes.
Yeah.
Nobody is perfect in this world. But all I can try and do is be a little bit better than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
Even if it's marginal, I'm not bothered. And if the daft stuff like decorating my room for autumn makes me feel cosy and makes me feel a bit better about what's coming.
Yeah.
Because I know that this is a season I struggle with.
But by you sharing that, knowing that you've had a knock-on effect on helping other people do that as well, it helped me definitely.
Amazing.
Like, and just something as small as that, like you were saying, just doing that little small thing every day, like, know that it does actually make an impact change. It might not feel like it, that doing something as small as that, but when you consistently giving yourself that time and love and a little bit of luxury, after a bit, it starts to become a pattern, and then you're conditioning yourself to be like, this is normal now. Now it's, I should be self-loving, and this is what, you know, and that becoming a normal thing, because, you know, this is what we have to try and break out of.
Absolutely.
So it has been a normal thing, and so we're having to retrain ourselves in a way.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's been such a pleasure to have you on this podcast. I'm so happy we did this. It's been ace.
It has.
I know we love these jobs anyway. We do, and we were just like, do you know what? We said, didn't we, quite a while ago, we were like, let's get you on the podcast soon, because a lot of what we talk about, and, you know, when we talk about friendships that have helped each other sort of blossom and grow, like, we've always said this, that, you know, we've connected through doing that little bit of self-care and self-love for ourselves, and, like, you know, attracted our tribe. And it's nice to be able to share that with other people, because it takes a while to find.
It does. And I'd love to help in any way. And I know, like, we touched on the social media stuff, but I do want to be more honest. And this is kind of the start of that. I wanted to do this first, because it gives a bit more context to it, rather than just
speaking in length.
Because I'm not great at words sometimes. And explaining this is so complex. It goes deep. I could talk about it for days, whatever it is. But now I hope that, you know, it is going to be a place where I'm not going to be forcing it. If I'm not feeling like it, I'm going to be saying, not feeling it today, or if I disappear, I disappear.
Yeah.
It's that pressure.
And thank you to you as well, because it's so great to have a friend like you to also remind me on those days that it's okay. I know now I will bear this in mind on those days and be like, one, it's not just me going through it, because you always feel like that at the time, and, like, two, to just be like, it's all right. It's like, it's part of the change, and you have to go through 100%. That turbulence, knowing that, just trusting it. And that's what's so hard sometimes, just to trust that, you know, as I always think, as long as you're good intentions and you are giving yourself love and you're giving other people love, like, what bad is ever going to come of anything? You're always supported and looked after. And to just keep going with that trust. And it's that same thing of it, self-trust and self-value come so hand in hand, and it's hard, isn't it, too? But once you start, how quickly it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
It was that like, come on, guys, get off the podcast.
Never.
Oh, that was so lovely, though. Thank you so
much. I love these. They're so